Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back to ETH Talk, your weekly look at the market in ETH Online. Now, the May economic report has been out as well. I didn't cover that in a separate video because it is a little bit too complex in the sense that it also covers regional trade and all of that stuff, which really holds little value for a very little player like myself. But one thing I did notice, and it really surprised me, is that the amount of ISK in the game was down for the month as well. So I was definitely expecting that to turn around in a matter of a month, but it looks like people are still buying a lot of blueprints, a lot of stuff in order to create citadels, create rigs, and probably also all of the modules for the citadels, causing monetary deflation. I wouldn't say that there's like general deflation in the economy or anything like that, but when it comes to the amount of ISK in the game, there does seem to be a bit of deflation happening at the moment, and of course the taxes themselves will have an impact on that as well. These will in general be slowing down inflation by quite a little bit, and that is very important information to keep in mind if you're going for something like the plex, for instance, in order to try a store of value and something that'll probably increase in value later on. To my surprise, we're still in monetary deflation at the moment, or at least we were last month. We'll have to wait and see what happens this month. Let's see, we are here for the market, of course, and as always, we'll just start up with plex here. We'll put down 140, and let's take a look here. Plex rebounded a little bit. You may already have seen that in the ticker below, but we rebounded from the 0.85, so 850 million mark, going back up. Current sellers are at 919 million. I wouldn't put one sale at 910 as something that's going to break the trend here. So basically we recuperated all the losses from the plex sale that happened last week. So I think that this is still okay. It does show maybe a little bit that a bottom is trying to be formed for plexes. People are not willing to really sell them below 900 million, and currently they're trying to sell them for 920. The buyers though are still sitting at 878 million ISK, so there is that little bit of pressure from demand, of course, to try and get the price to go down. And things like a plex sale, like decreased amount of available ISK, can of course have an impact on that. But I personally still feel like it's a good time to snag up some cheap plexes. I have bought 2 plexes, but I did manage to buy those straight off the market below 900 million. That's definitely something that I look at. If you can still buy them below 900, at some point I think you're going to make a pretty damn good deal out of those. But also for people that look to plex their accounts, honestly 920 million ISK in a month is something that's actually pretty doable. Well, I wouldn't say for everyone, you know, newer players that don't have the skills to fly an Ishtar for exploration, fly a Mackinac for mining, or really join in some of that nullsec ratting in a battleship, is going to be very hard, or almost impossible for them to do that. But people that have the skills and that have the playtime, 920 million is really not that hard to do. 32 million a day, honestly, something that anyone that has like 6 months of ETH under their belt can actually manage. Next up, let's take a look at the multiple pilot trading certificates. A bit surprised here, 909 million ISK. Are they down a little bit from last week? Well, they also took a bit of a dive together with plex, and now they're trying to come back towards the 900 million on the chart. I would have thought that these were higher, but it's also only 5 of them. Then we've got 920 and then 946. So although it is a different market that's tied very strongly to plex, I'm surprised to see these lower than plex at the moment, but keep one thing in mind, it's not that many of them, and we'll be at 945, 946 pretty soon if just 6 of those are bought out. So that could actually go up quite quickly and could add to a bit of pressure for plex to continue going back up as well. Of course, the summertime is generally something you should be careful about when it comes to plexes. Because of the lower activity, demand tends to be lower as well, and that could actually keep the price either pretty low or even push it even lower. So I personally see this as an opportunity that over the summer, if I have extra ISK that I've made, being little bit lucky with exploration or something like that, I buy an extra plex if they're pretty damn cheap. Next up, we've got the body resculpt here. On the chart you can see that these have been under pressure a little bit as well, but after going up in the same time that plexes have been going down. So the body resculpt has really proven that it is its own little market. It's very low in volume, but it is not that tied to plexes, definitely not as tied to plexes as the multiple pilot training certificate, because you can see here it went up from 210 million to 290 million, probably due to the skill injectors, skill extractors, meaning that people that could fine-tune some of their alts took the opportunity to also fine-tune those looks. Now it's been under pressure a little bit from that sharp increase in price, and we're settling back at 210 million, which was actually a normal price for a body resculpt. But if you don't look at this increase in price here, which has a logical explanation, then it's actually been pretty damn stable compared to plexes that have actually been going down for like 3-4 months now. More interesting, probably the skill extractors. Okay, those seem to be settling at around the 210 million mark. A bit of a bump, just like plexes here, so down and then up at the tail end. They are currently selling for 209 million. The buyers are at 202 million. That's a pretty damn small margin there. So it looks like 200 million for a skill extractors. It's like the absolute minimum that we're going to encounter at the moment, unless something really drastic happens to Plex. I think that's what we're looking at here, 200 to 210 million for a skill extractor. What will the impact be in aggregate on the skill injectors? Quite a bit more volatility. So that's definitely interesting, right? As the plexes went down, so did the price of skill injectors. Obviously, at some point, it becomes just much more effective to just buy a plex and 30-day game time than a skill injector. So these had to follow the plex trend at some point, going down to 580 million from 650 at the top. That's quite a significant bump down, but then we already went back up to 610 as well, and now we are apparently on our way back down towards 600. So the sellers are at 608 million ISK for skill injectors, the buyers are at 585 million ISK. And what surprises me here is just the amount of volatility in the skill injector market in just the first 4 months of its existence. So volumes seem to be slowing down, but finding there is general volumes, right? Like probably 8,000 units a day, which is quite a lot. And so here, this is probably something that's being speculated upon quite a bit. So this is definitely interesting, how clearly plex have gone up maybe in the last week or so by just a little bit, but skill injectors have done something completely different, crawling out of a 6-month low below 580 million ISK, which is even lower than the current buy orders. Keep that in mind as well here. Buy orders had to go up a little bit to 585. So this is a very active market, probably one of the most active markets in JITA at the moment, I would say. And this is also a place where money can be made and lost, depending on the trend. For me, it's still a little bit too young. I think at some point all of this may just settle down and activity may move back to plex or something like that. So I'm a little bit hesitant myself to invest in skill injectors, but from the current numbers that we're seeing here, especially the extremely high volume, the high availability here as well, 105, 106, 74, 97, that is definitely pretty crazy. All of this in 24 hours. This is at the moment an extremely active market that can know quick swings here and there. So for active traders, this could actually be a good option. For me, it's just a little bit too risky at the moment. So that's it for the plex market. Let's take a look at some minerals at 905. Let's start as always with titanium, which is under pressure after being able to maintain like an average of 620 to 630 for 6 months. We're clearly going down now. We broke the 6 ISK mark. I don't think we're there on the sellers just yet. No, 6 to 601, but they're trying to hold on to 6 ISK, but the buyers are going lower and lower to 581 now. And with sell orders of like 2 billion units at 606 here, that's not really an indication that it's going to stop soon. The good news is we do have a buy order at 1.2 billion, but that's definitely quite a bit older, only lasts another 10 hours, so this will probably be whacked out pretty soon, and that could be what is going to trigger titanium to go lower. So we're still oversupplied, not by all that much anymore. I mean, I'm just seeing this one older order, not that much new supply coming in, so titanium is trying to settle at 6 ISK, but honestly, I think the buyers may be the ones that can hold out the easiest. If people just mine a lot of titanium and want to bring them to the market, they'll have to go below that 6 ISK, and if that happens, then we could actually start a pretty serious downtrend in titanium. So yeah, be a bit careful here. This could be the harbinger of pretty bad news for the titanium market. Let's take a look at pyrite next here, which may have been the canary in the coal mine here, going from 6-month low to 6-month low again, easily breaking the 10 ISK mark right here, then going down to 9.4 ISK already, still going down here. So substantial pressure on pyrite, and despite that, to my surprise, we're still seeing the latest order at 600 million units and 200 million units. Here we get 200 million units being bought, but the rest of it definitely not. So we have sellers at 933, buyers, well, there's one buyer at 925 that should get filled pretty quickly, but then 887, so trying to push the price below 9 ISK for pyrite is probably not a bad buy order here. And it's just adding to the pressure. So pyrite at a 6-month low, still under pressure and still seeing high supply numbers, indicates that the high-sec minerals seem to be under pressure, oversupplied at the moment, which could of course be an effect of lower activity due to the summertime here. Next up, we've got Mexalon. That, well, then again, Mexalon doing something completely unique here, staying at its high point of 72 ISK, managing to maintain that trade range. With titanium and pyrite being under such pressure is quite a feat, let's be honest. Supply though is starting to outstrip demand by quite a bit. If you look at the numbers here, 8 million units, 4 million units, 5 million units, something like that. When 100 million units comes in at 72, 74, that is bound to create a bit of a plateau. If the next one then tries to sell 67 million units at 72, 72, this is going to start to put the pressure on the price, and it will probably start to go down because supply is higher than demand. I'm just a bit surprised that last week it was already very clear that you should try to mine for Mexalon if you still want some efficiency in your mining in high-sec, but people don't seem to have switched that quickly. Although these latest two orders of course do indicate that a switch is probably happening, so that gives titanium and pyrite a chance to slow down a little bit, but will also put the pressure on Mexalon. It's pretty much inevitable at this point. Next up here we've got Isogen trying to hold on at 95 ISK, but you can see that we've also gone down over 6 months here, hesitated a little bit early May here, going up to 100, but already giving that back. So 95 ISK seems to be where Isogen is moving at the moment. Buyers agree, 92 ISK, sellers 94.57, so 90 to 95 seems to be the current trade range for Isogen. Bit of a bump in volume to be spotted here as well on the increase in price. So I would say if nothing stands out on the supply demand, bit more supply, 34 million, 20 million compared to 30 million, we have to go down quite a bit here, but it's not all too bad here. So I think that the Isogen market is looking to settle at the 90 to 95 ISK price range, which could add some stability, but yeah, titanium pyrite not looking that hot. Mexalon probably going down pretty soon. I would say that high-sec mining is under pressure at the moment. It's been a good time for me to probably switch to a bit of exploration on the side as well. Moving on to Noxium next. Again, this may look like it's an okay chart, right? You start at 480, you've got a top at 500, then you do go down to pretty low at 440 and a bit of speculation happening after that. But keep in mind, this is historically extremely low for Noxium, and this is really not something you actually like to see even for the entire year here. It's been more than a year now since the mineral rebalance happened. Noxium used to be twice the price, is at its high point. So this is pretty crazy for people that have held on to Noxium for a very long time. But this seems to be the new normal, right? 470, 450, something like that for Noxium on average. Now there's a bit of speculation happening every time we really drop back down, but I'm afraid if we look at these numbers, 6 million, 4 million, it's slowly stopping, but Noxium is just basically oversupplied and constantly under pressure, and it's just trading at the current ranges. Even the buyers are at 427 ISK, which is really historically extremely cheap for Noxium, and then the sellers are trying to sell at 467, but there's still quite a bit of competition, and it's just not happening all that well. So Noxium, I'm not sure. At some point CCP may step in from a historical point of view, but if they don't, then these will just basically be normal prices for Noxium, right? Below 500 ISK. That's a normal price for Noxium, and trying to speculate on this I think is going to be very hard, because of course Noxium has sources in high sec, in null sec, in wormhole space, in low sec, and as a result apparently whenever null sec or wormhole space seems to have stabilized a little bit, you're just oversupplied, because the high sec supply is probably ample to do a lot of the industry already, and as a result, yeah, Noxium not very hot, definitely not something I would gamble on myself. Next up, the null sequence. Here we've got Zydrine slowly going up towards 1300 ISK, but none of this seems to be speculative or is completely out of order either. So current sellers 1278, current buyers 1199. They're basically forced up towards 1200 ISK for buyers of Zydrine. Volume wise, I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Orders of less than 1 million units coming in, quite a few of them, let's be honest here, more than a front page. Then we get 2 million and 1.3 million here, but I think the market can absorb that, and so this looks like the null sec minerals are stabilizing towards trying to find a stable price here, slowly heading towards 1300 ISK for Zydrine. When it comes to Megasite, trying to settle at 1450 at a pretty high point. That's definitely true. Let's take a look at supply of these. It's coming in, but look at that, just half a front page, 1 million, 1.4 million. You still have 1 million being bought here as well, just less than 24 hours ago, a bit surprising, at 1353. So it's definitely the buyers that are being forced up towards 1400 ISK, and the sellers are competing around 1465. Yeah, seems to be stabilizing for nullsec at the moment, which is pretty interesting. Could be the end of the war. Add to that a bit less activity, which I think nullsec tends to take the brunt of that as well. And you could actually have a net almost zero result when it comes to the nullsec minerals, which are holding at a nice high point for Megasite, and for Zydrine is at a high point almost, right? 1300, except for this one price point here. It's actually doing really nicely. So that market seems to have switched in general for the minerals. It used to be that when we were at these low points here, the high sec minerals were definitely doing pretty damn good. ISK per hour was almost comparative to nullsec mining, but that is definitely switching back, and some nullsec mining is probably going to be far more efficient than high sec mining at the moment. Moving on to some Tech 1 chips, let's take a look at the impact there. 1815. Let's see if we can spot anything, but honestly I don't think we'll get to spot anything out of the ordinary here. The Armageddon clearly settling at 195 million ISK here, after a bit of a speculative down, but this basically looks to be where it's gonna settle. And the availability, 100 coming in, 30 here. At least there are Armageddons on the market for people to buy, despite the fact that battleships are not that popular at the moment. So looks good to stabilize, honestly. Here's the Caracal, pretty damn similar after a bit of speculation here at the start of the war that really did present a very nice opportunity for Caracal producers. Here we're now settling towards 11.5 million ISK again, and availability is bound to be quite ample. So this is looking okay for the Caracal as well, I would say. Next up here, the Dominics. Ooh, the winner of the battleships last week is actually adding a second leg there, heading towards 220 million ISK. So I almost have to speculate that this is nullsec happening here. Someone is probably preparing some Dominic's fleets as part of their doctrines for some reason. Who is it? I have no idea, but you can also see that some manufacturers have jumped on the opportunity and are actively bringing Dominixes in for 220 million at the moment, which is bound to make you quite a bit of money. But 24 hours ago, 264 million, and so yeah, it must have basically been that the Dominixes have been bought out of the Jita market. Is it speculative? Honestly, I don't think so. Pushing all the Dominixes out here is probably not been a speculative move. I would say it's very likely that this increase in volume here, and maybe these days as well, have been some null-sec buying, and as a result Dominix is actually a winner at the moment. If you can make these, you're probably doing a pretty good deal at the current prices. 220, it's on the process of falling back down a little bit, but yeah, holding quite nicely on the sell order side. Next up here we've got the Drake. After a bit of spiky behavior up to 58 million, it's finally seeming to stabilize at 53 million. I think that could be happening. Is the availability enough? Yeah, looks like it. We still have some Drakes coming in, but not too many, but we are at a low price point as well, so it looks like the Drake could actually start to stabilize if you look at these points here, with the tops probably starting to lower, and then here just settling at 53, 54 million, something like that on average. It would be nice, I think. Next up, the Mauler here, doing okay, I would say, between 11.5 and 12 million for quite a bit of the chart, and availability here not that hot, let's be honest. Still 13 and 7 of them coming in is going to help keeping this price decently stable, but anything could happen here. Someone buys 100 Maulers and you're looking at a pretty sharp price spike, so it's still looking like it's maintaining a pretty stable price point, but the availability is quite low here. Next up, we've got the Myrmidon working on a double spike to 64 million, but already going back down as well, again on a volume spike, so something may be happening in the Myrmidon market, or could this be speculation? That's hard to tell because it is apart a little bit in time wise, so that's definitely strange. But 58 million pretty much for the sellers, 51.3 million for the buyers, so 58 definitely going back down already here. The Myrmidon gaps are being plucked just too quickly, so I don't think this is speculation. There may be some Myrmidon gangs roaming around here at the moment, because clearly 2 volume increases have caused 2 temporary price spikes, but as I've said, it's already ending. The supply is coming in and is competing with each other, thus bringing the price back down towards the normal very quickly, honestly. Next up here we've got the Oracle, okay, settling at 85 million. That's definitely something that looks pretty damn stable. Availability though, extremely low, sellers at 94 million ISK, so it's just not a fact here that the Oracle is not being bought that much. A few probably from the sell orders, yeah, the volumes are not that high either, so a few from sellers, quite a bit from the buy orders as well, I think just straight away being sold here. But no big Oracle fleets or anything like that, I guess, because then we would see a sharp price spike considering the very low amounts that are available at the moment. So again, stable but low availability. Next up here we've got the Raven settling at 195 million ISK. This may look like a pretty high point, but considering it's a battleship below 200 million, I think it's actually pretty normal. You can see also that it's considered pretty high point because people are bringing in quite a few Ravens here. So I think this will slowly start to stabilize 195, 190 million in this price range for a Raven, I think is what we're looking at. And then if you look at it from that perspective on the chart here, it looks like that's where we're heading, and that could be the stable price for now. Next up here we've got the Stabber. That looks okay, bit of a temporary dip towards 10 million, but holding at the 11 million price range without too much trouble. And here availability, I can't browse, but 79, 14, 24, 10, a bit coming in every day as well here, so it's looking alright for the Stabber to stay in this price range. Next up we've got the Tornado, bit of a bump up to 88 million on increased volumes, but one thing that I'm really happy to report here that indicates that there is potential for more stability. The Tech 1 market, very short-lived, we're already back down to 74 million ISK, and availability very high here. It's 36, 34, definitely quite available. So any opportunity, any high price has an immediate response by the manufacturers, by the producers. That is bringing the price back down to a reasonable price pretty quickly. That's, I think, pretty good news. Next up here we get the Typhoon trying to settle at 185, which I think for a battleship is quite alright as well, and availability is decently high as well. And then finally we've got the Vexor settling at 12 million as well, which is towards its average, and that is very available here. You can see with 98 of them still coming in here, there's quite a few Vexors on the market. So the Tech 1 market, okay, a few exceptions, like the Dominics right here that are at a very high price point. The rest of them seems to be stable. The one worrying factor I would say is that a few of them are very low in volumes on the market at the moment, but overall it looks like the Tech 1 market is showing more and more stability here. Next up, the Tech 2 market, 2520. Let's take a look at that. Unfortunately, as I've said, I'm not too positive about the Tech 2 market. I used to look for volatility here, but I think the increased taxes are creating a serious problem for that here. So let's see if it's happening. Here's the Basilisk, definitely holding at 200 million. Too high to buy, too low to sell, not enough volatility. So the Basilisk, nope, I would say I wouldn't risk my ISK here. Here's the Cerberus, again, 210 million. The low was 180, the high 260 on some speculation, but it's just not happening here apparently. Next up, we've got the Claw settling at 20 million, but you could have bought these for 16 million, and then here is the speculation we're looking for, but that's all before the Citadel expansion and the new taxes. So again, too stable for my book. Here is the Guardian. The Guardian, at least one ship is proving me wrong a little bit. The Guardian going up in price quite drastically. From 135 million, currently selling for 190 million. You could have made some money on that. I do think that the Guardian went to a clear bottom below 130 million here, and that I call this one as a potential opportunity. But one thing that you should notice here is that it takes almost a month for the increase in price to happen, and so you constantly probably worry, should I sell, should I sell? It's a lot more difficult than the speculative increase in price of 20% that happened in just a matter of a few days. So this is clearly a change, but at least it shows that some Tech 2 speculation can still yield you some money, right? If you could have bought these for 130 and you can now sell them for 190, that's 40% profit pretty easily. That's definitely not bad, but spotting these opportunities I think is gonna be the real trick here. So the Guardian, if you have some, then try to sell those. I wonder if I have maybe a few. I'll need to check that. But yeah, at least one of them showing a great increase in price and a sell opportunity at least. Next up here, we've got the Hound settling at 20 million. Again, not low enough to buy, and we're seeing more stable situations here, so I don't like it. The Ishtar was doing pretty nicely if you look at the buy opportunity at 165 and then a sell at 210, but now it's apparently settling at this price range, so we'll need to see how this evolves before I can say that maybe there's another buy opportunity for the Ishtars. Definitely not at the moment. So of course I'm also hoping that we're not seeing this pattern for the Guardian here, that a slow increase in price over a month is then followed by a plateau at that high price point. So we need this to be plugged and to go down very quickly, but because of all of the taxes, I actually think that the producers of these ships are definitely not planning to bring that price back down very quickly anymore. So we'll have to see if this pattern shows up in the Guardian market in the next 2 weeks as well. The Manticore, again, too stable at 24, so you don't want to buy or sell at these prices. The Nemesis also settling at 22 million. Oniros, load the chart please, did go down to a low bottom at 140 million, but now over the course of more than a month went up to 155. Only now do you see 10% show up after more than a month. So it's this, you know, it could still go back up a little bit, but do you want to sell now if you actually bought at 140? Maybe, maybe not. It's a lot trickier here to actually spot these opportunities. So the Oneros, of course, I don't think I want to buy or sell at this price point, but maybe selling could be a good idea. Tricky to say. Next up here we've got the Purifier settling at 24 million. 20 to 24 million is maybe considered a slight opportunity here, right? 20 to 26 million, but now again showing a bit of a plateau at the higher price point. So it's pretty damn tricky. The increased volume here is what could be a good indicator, but at the moment, yeah, definitely don't want to buy at these prices. Here's the Raptor then, settling at just below 25 million. So again, do you want to buy this? Personally, I don't. If you expect maybe a Raptor fleet to be bought all of a sudden, big increase in volume, giving you an opportunity, maybe you can, but personally I would prefer to buy my Raptors at close to 20 million. But we'll see how all of this evolves. Finally, the Scimitar here again did go down to 140, but of course I prefer 120, and then went up to 170, which is okay, but it took almost the entire month to do that, and then now here we're just basically plateauing at that high price point. So very difficult market, I think, to make some successful trades at the moment. One exception, the Guardian. Next up, Tech 3. Let's take a look at those at 30.30. Tech 3. All right. Let's start here with the Confessor. Unfortunately, you may already have seen it in the ticker below, the Tengu under some serious pressure. So I think this is not good news. Here is the Confessor trying to hold on above 40 million, 41 million for the sellers, 37 million for the buyers. But the bad news is that we still have 13, 11, 63 and 20 of them coming in despite the very low prices. Full disclosure, I did buy $500 million in Confessors myself for a longer term investment here at this point. So just so you know, I'm starting to just buy some of these. I think at some point we're gonna make some money on it, but it remains pretty risky because you can see that the oversupply is just a fact of life in the Tech 3 market at the moment. Next up, the Hecate tries to go down after breaking 40 million, so that's definitely pretty damn important. Let's see where the sellers are at. 43.7 million, the buyers are at 37 million though, and supply has basically been dried out. So someone just bought increased volume, everything below a certain price point, saying that they could buy quite a few Hecates below 40 million. That's bound to have been what happened. Unfortunately, I think by next week we'll see this will have been spotted as an opportunity, and we'll probably see a lot of Hecates come to the market. That's my personal speculation, of course, but I think it's just a general thing that's happening in the Tech 3 market at the moment. So unfortunately, I think this will be extremely short-lived. Next up, the Jackdaw still under pressure, also heading for 40 million. 40.8 just like the Confessor, 38 million for the buyers, 39 almost. So trying to find the bottom. I think they're trying at 40 million, but will it happen? Very difficult to say. Not that many coming in the last 24 hours, but you still have 20, 10 here, then go down a little bit, and you've got 68, 19, 13, 21 right there. So oversupplied, it's definitely the situation in the destroyer markets. Finally, we've got this Zwepel here, also slowly try to bump off of 40 million pretty much, but just look at the pressure that keeps mounting here. 42 million, and as a result you get half a front page of news Zwepels. 34, 6, 8, 6, 7. People just keep bringing these to the market. It's pretty damn crazy. The buyers are at 40 million though. So again, bottom 40 million. It's trying to be formed, but will it happen? The supply is just pretty damn big. Does this mean that some of the supply, we're not seeing that many in the last 24 hours, does this mean that some of them may have moved to some cruisers? Let's take a look at those. Here's the Legion trying to get to 150 million ISK, and probably, right, in the last few days, this is a full front page of basically new Legions coming in, including 22, 9, 7, 9, 9 here again. So this is quite a few Legions because they're selling close to 150, increased volume here as well. So I think that a bit of production from the destroyers has been moved to some cruisers, but you can see that it is still under pressure. The Legion not managing to go above 150 million and already probably going back down here. Next up here we've got the Loki, definitely under pressure, heading for 135 million ISK, 138 for the sellers, no buyers to be seen here. I think my next move is gonna be a couple of Lokis, because being able to buy those below 140 seems like a pretty good deal here. Next up we've got the Proteus, also breaking 140 without too much effort. Bit of a bump on increased volumes, but again oversupplied like hell. As a result, the demand just isn't there. They're currently selling for 136 million ISK. Yeah, very, very low prices at the moment. I think I'll need to make a trip with my main to Jita and buy myself a couple of Tech Tree ships. And then finally the Tengu also under pressure, heading towards 140 on this one. So 141 for the sellers, 132 for the buyers, pretty wide gap. And despite that, just look at this. A full front page of new Tengus still coming in here. It's pretty damn crazy. The Tech Tree market extremely low, under pressure, oversupplied, but personally I'm seeing that as a possible long-term investment alternative to something like Plexus, especially now Protea at 136 and Loki's at 138 million ISK. I may make a bit of a move, nothing great, right? Not like I'm gonna spend all my ISK on that or something, but just diversify a little bit, buy 5, maybe 4 or 5 of them, something like that, and just have them sitting there until I have an EVE talk and I see them spike back up to 180 or 200 million on a big war or something like that, and then you'll have made an easy 50% profit on those. I think that's what I'll aim for. It's slightly risky in one sense, that I should say that, because we've seen this pattern happen previously, like a few years ago in the Tech Tree market, and I have to be honest, the oversupply situation managed to last for more than a year, and we saw all of these cruisers go as low as 120 million ISK on the sell orders. So that's one thing that I should mention. I am probably going to make a few moves on that. I think it's a good idea, but historically keep that in mind. We've seen this pattern before and it lasted for more than a year. It took the tactical destroyers being deployed to actually shake that off and actually start some volatility in the Tech Tree market. If that happens again, you could be stuck with those Tech Tree ships for quite a while. So I think at first I'll definitely start with some Protea, which I can fly myself. At least I can have some use of these Protea if it does happen again. And then finally for the extra product 3640, like that, I'm going to do something that I should check more. I think I'm going to check some moon materials. I'm going to take a category here, so manufacturing materials, reaction materials, advanced moon materials. I have to be honest, I don't know a lot about this market because this is tied to moon mining, to alliances, to reactions. None of those I've ever done myself. It takes a pretty big group to be able to do that. But it is definitely a pretty big market in and of itself. It represents nullsec income, very passive nullsec income that's considered very powerful, something that nullsec entities fight over. And what I think could be really important, so I'll probably come back to these quite a bit, is that by the end of the year, CCP is planning the new what is it called, drilling rigs that are centered around mining, and at that time they are planning, it's not 100% sure it's gonna happen, but they're planning to revisit the moon mining aspect of the game, trying to make that active was, I think, the goal that CCP Fozzy has set. So this could be in for quite a shock, quite a different changes, and so keeping an eye on this market could be very good speculation wise. It could be that this is gonna tank because of the changes, it could be that this goes up like crazy because of the changes. So yeah, that's basically why I'm gonna touch on this one without actually having the knowledge to really be able to analyze this. So let's start here with some crystalline carbonite, also all those names, I'll have to get used to those. Starts at 180, ends at 180 with a pretty big bubble here around the start of the year. So I'm not sure what exactly caused this, but overall this looks like it's actually been able to maintain a pretty stable price over 6 months, except for that one big bubble right here. Fermionic condensates, alright, starts at 50,000, ends at 50,000, one big speculative bubble, double the price, yeah, 100,000 is here. So speculation can have a pretty big trigger here. This could be tied to the war, that's a possibility, but you can also see that the gap was plugged quite quickly. So pretty interesting to see something like that. 6 month chart, one great trade opportunity at yeah, basically 100% profit to be taken on this one right there. So definitely completely different from this chart. That's also something I should note here. Ferrite carbide starts at 130, ends at 145, so a bit of a gain over 6 months, but we're also coming off of a pretty high period. So this one has actually been going up quite nicely to 160, again here, then up to 180,000 ISK, and then now back down to 145, but not going back to its 6-month low. So this again a little bit different from the chart. I couldn't tell you a story behind this one, but up for 6 months by not that much, maybe 10%. Also down right now since May, so could be tied to the war again. Ferrogel again, yeah, starts at 24,000, ends at 28,000, up a little bit, maybe 18%, something like that. Just doing it quickly in my head, but again going up towards May and now finally going down. So again, this could be due to the war. I think it's a possibility. Honestly, if you're still watching at this point and you actually know a bit about this market, feel free to post some more information in the comments, because I think it could become very important later on this year. But also again, going down at the tail end, up a little bit over 6 months, but nothing too drastic to report here. Similar pattern here, but Fullerite going from 550,000 pretty much to 750,000. That's almost a 50% increase in price, and again at the low points at May, at around May here, but a bit of speculation happening in March as well. So double increase in price here and still holding on quite nicely for the Fullerite. Hypersynaptic fibers then, again very similar pattern. Yeah, we're seeing this come back once in a while, right? You start at 8,000, you end at 8,000 ISK, but at around May you get this increase in price, more than doubling the price to 20,000 ISK. So this could definitely be due to the war, I think. Maybe to the Citadel expansion as well, but I think the war is more likely considering these are advanced moon materials. The transistors then are only now going up to a 3,400 ISK, probably 50% increase in price from 6 months ago, where it was stable for 4 months. A bit of instability shows up here, but now that the war is almost over, we see this one go up and now slowly back down here, but at a 6-month high point. So something we've not seen in any of the other ones, a unique pattern here for nanotransistors. Non-linear metamaterials, again, big spike up here towards the war, maybe a bit earlier than the war, and now at the end of June again. So again a different pattern, double top, but a bit later than the other double tops we've seen, and settling at 24,000 pretty much. Let's say 23,000, starts at 19,000, up a little bit over 6 months. Then here we have some phenolic composites. Don't ask me where this comes from, how you make it, what it is used in. I have no idea, but double spike here again, and settling at 1600 from 1300, so up again over 6 months, and decently bumpy roads. 2 spikes, 1 spike tends to seem to have happened in the last 6 months here. Photonic metamaterials starts at 11,000 and at 12,000, up a little bit, not that much, maybe 10%. And then here again around May, quite a bit of speculation and a few high points to be spotted. So I think the general story again here starts at 8,000, ends at 9,000, on its way back down. But especially around May, we can see an increase in price, probably due to the war. What is this? Ceramic fibers, never heard of it, never even seen it, I don't think. Starts at 260,000 ISK. We did see it came back to 270, now back up a little bit, but again the April-May region here, probably the war happening. I think that's going to be the general story to be found here. But then again, terahertz metamaterials, really strange. I mean, they did start going up towards the war, but now at a high point in June, which is a little bit strange, to be honest. Maybe it's due to the final regions that have fallen or something like that, but this is definitely a little bit late in my feeling to actually have a high point of 24,000. It starts at 10,000, ends at 18,000. Definitely the general trend has been up, neutral to up for these advanced moon materials. Titanium carbide then starts at 130, ends at 130, but big spike in April. Why would it happen in April and not in May like most of the other ones? I have no idea. But it's definitely pretty interesting. And then finally we have tungsten carbide that once again shows the war pattern here. Starts at 120, ends at 120, and a big increase in price to 280, more than double the price in May or something like that, probably due to the war here. So there you go, guys. Honestly, I can't give you a lot of background to these advanced moon materials, but I do think I'll come back to these a few more times because of the potential changes to moon mining that are in the pipeline for probably the end of the year, maybe early next year. It's definitely something to keep in mind. Does that mean that this is an opportunity? It could be the exact opposite, right? It could be that they make it a lot easier to get those materials as well. So don't start speculating just yet, I would say. But if you think that it could mean an increase in price, then of course try looking for some good buy opportunities. It could be a good idea, probably on some that have already settled back down towards their 6-month price start, like the tungsten carbide right here. But okay, I have to be honest, I don't know a lot about that. If you have more information, please post that in the comments. But for now, that's going to be it for this EVE Talk. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.